The speed of which some people will go to Twitter to comment about a brand before they call and complain is amazing. And you can actually save a lot of sales or even help a lot of people by just having a Twitter presence and being able to respond real quickly.
We interrupt this program to bring you this important message. Welcome to Marketing Interruption, a daily podcast powered by BlueTuskr that interrupts your day with marketing news, tips and strategies from an entrepreneur who lives and breathes marketing. Now, let the interruption begin with your host, Andrew Maff.
Hello and welcome to episode number 74 of the Marketing Interruption podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Maftone. Today, I'm going to talk to you about why e-commerce sellers should be leveraging Twitter more. So it's very interesting to me how many, we did YouTube earlier about how to create content on YouTube. And it's very interesting to me how so many sellers are really, really interested in Instagram, kind of starting to get interested in TikTok, semi-interested in Facebook, and then there's just a big drop. And it's like, that's it. That's all the channels that there are. But YouTube is one, which we already talked about earlier this week, and another one's Twitter, which I'm always shocked that no one really wants to leverage. And there's so many benefits to Twitter that a lot of people don't seem to understand. Twitter started to really develop. To me, it's got a slight kind of Reddit feel to it, where A, people are mean, but B, it's almost like it's starting to become kind of like a cult following. Now, a lot of people are saying with Twitter, like once the elections are over and Trump is gone, like who else is going to read Twitter? Because that's really all the reason you go to Twitter is to see what he said, which I don't think is true. I still think there's a lot of other stuff going on Twitter. And the biggest benefit that Twitter has is that everyone becomes their own media outlet. So if something happens in your town, someone tweets about it, the second that thing happens, they've now let that news out before any media outlet could even show up to take video of it or whatever it is they do. So to me, there's three big reasons that e-commerce sellers need to be on Twitter. So you have hopping on top of trends. So anything new that may be coming up that everyone's kind of like using hashtags and this is why this is trending and things like that. Joining in on conversations. So basically, you can just search. You don't need to even search hashtags. You can just search a keyword and see when people are talking about things that your brand may be relevant towards and just joining in on that conversation. So if someone's talking about something that's vaguely relevant to your product line, just joining in on that conversation and giving your opinion or whatever it is you need to do there. And then the other side of it, which I think is one of the biggest sides, is customer service. The speed of which some people will go to Twitter to comment about a brand before they call and complain is amazing. And you can actually save a lot of sales or even help a lot of people by just having a Twitter presence and being able to respond real quickly. So what we've started to do is, we use Sprout Social internally, unless we have HubSpot, in which case we use HubSpot. But we have customer service teams always integrated into both of those, just so we can basically tag a conversation, say like, hey, we need you to chime in on this because we can't help you with marketing. So that kind of quick response really helps drive that side of Twitter. So there's great ways to grow on Twitter, and that would be the first two that we mentioned. So looking in at what's trending and getting on board with it, like today is Thursday, and Thursday thoughts and Thirsty Thursday and all that kind of stuff, even though it's used every week since the dawn of time, still seems to be used all the time. And then there's also hopping in on whatever trends may be happening. So any other, that's basically the same thing, but any kind of new trends out of the old stuff. And then also joining in on conversations. So joining in on conversations, it's timely. This is where we usually suggest to have something like a community manager or something like that, where basically their sole job is to not post on social media, but to engage on social media. So on Instagram, some people, you'll go to someone else's post and you'll comment to some of the people that are commenting on that post because it's relevant. Twitter, it's basically the same thing. If you can go to a competitor and see some people that are commenting, you can simply just go to their pages and comment to those people in other ways. You already know that they're interested in whatever it is you're selling because they were already talking to your competitor. So there's a lot of ways on Twitter. It's a slower growth in the beginning when you do things like that. I've seen a lot of brands become really successful and only post their own original content once or twice a week on Twitter. I'm finding that posting really good content on Twitter is great as long as you make sure it's like your best content you have available and you only post on occasion. Otherwise, it's more about outreach. It's more about getting in conversations. It's more about involving what's in trending and things like that. So I 100% think people need to hop on Twitter. I don't understand why most e-commerce sellers don't get on there. To me, it's a given. It's almost like you have to have a Twitter, especially when it comes down to customer service. When you look at scalability, eventually you will. The goal is that you'll be big enough where that's going to be relevant. And Twitter's not going anywhere anytime soon. They're, as far as I've seen recently in the last numbers I read, their members, their people that have Twitter profiles are still going up. It's not fast, but it's still going up. Still being used. I think it's even being used a little bit more than it once was. So I would definitely suggest if you don't have an e-commerce account, if you don't have a Twitter account and you are an e-commerce seller, you really should get a Twitter and start on that. If you need help with Twitter, you have you're kind of struggling on what ideas to use and how you can leverage it, shoot me an email, marketinginterruption@BlueTuskr.com. Let me know what you're selling, and I'll be more than happy to give you my advice. But that's all I have for today. Rate, review, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.
Thank you for joining us for today's Marketing Interruption. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And don't forget to email marketinginterruption@BlueTuskr.com with any marketing questions you'd like to have answered on the show. And head over to marketinginterruption.bluetuskr.com to catch up on past episodes. Until next time, we now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.